This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Welcome to the Starlight Ballroom. Hey!
Hello and welcome to Shipwrecked and Comatose, the podcast about Red Dwarf here on the We Made This podcast network. We aren't doing very many specials between Series 8 and Back to Earth, but we're doing two. So this is one of two. Look at us actually doing what we were going to do in the first place, like Series 2 specials, but actually doing it this time. Yeah. I'm Mark Adams, I'm your host, and I'm already talking shit. With me at this time is Carl. Hello, Carl.
Hello, Mark. Hello, Colin. How are you doing?
All right.
That's Colin.
Yeah, I'm here as well.
Hi, Colin.
Hello.
We're not doing the magazines like we did on that vote, though, because we'd already planned to do this. But we should do this magazine soon.
We will.
Maybe.
Definitely. We'll get it sorted soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soon is a relative term.
We'll do it tomorrow.
Are we? No.
It was an Asterix reference.
Oh, was it? We're doing Asterix. Why are we doing Asterix? Well, we're doing Asterix Conquers in America.
He conquers Slash in America. Is that why Guns N' Roses split up the first time round? Because Asterix conquered Slash in America.
I mean, maybe. That sounds like particularly niche pornography. In this country, at least, it was Asterix Conquers America, but it's become quite difficult to source because there's an American dub as well as a British dub, which is Asterix in America. And we're obviously watching the British dub because Asterix is played by Craig Charles. It's one of our tenuous links because there's an actor in a thing that's also in Red Dwarf. And also we really like Asterix.
Yeah, it's been a weird one, this one, because I initially got a bit mixed up and I was like, oh yeah, no, I watched Asterix Conquers America as a kid. I didn't. I watched Asterix Goes to Britain as a kid.
Right.
But it's been interesting watching this because I have seen a couple of Asterix films since then, including some of the more recent ones. And yeah, I do still really enjoy Asterix, but this one for me is a bit weird for reasons we'll go into.
Yeah, I think actually that's worth having a brief chat about because we are looking at Asterix gently linked to Red Dwarf. What is both of your histories with Asterix? Was it something you both really liked as a kid?
As I say, the first one I ever saw was Asterix Takes on Britain, which was, I think, 86 from looking at the research I did earlier. And this one was 1994. And it's weird because the thing that I didn't realise is that after this one, they didn't do another one for about 8 years.
Right. That might explain why they didn't reuse any of the voice actors as well.
True. They went live action after this. And
Oh, that one.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's 5 live action films.
I know Gerard Depardieu was Obelix in the first live action one.
He's Obelix in all of them, apart from the most recent one, which is coming out this year. He's been replaced, although he says he's quite happy to do that because obviously he is getting on a bit now from doing this. The thing I've noticed about the live action ones is everybody who's in them, especially the people who play Asterix, because they seem to change every few films, everybody is a writer, director, actor, musical artist. The most recent guy who's in there is a writer-director who, Colin might know this, directed the film Tell No One, which was a very big French sort of thriller. And he's also a show jumper.
Good. Well, show jumpers are little, right?
This lad's not that small in comparison. I mean, everyone's small compared to the guys who play Obelix, but this is the French know how to multitask.
Très bien. But did you like the books as a kid, or was it just the films you watched?
I read a few of the books. I was more of a Garfield man.
Less panels.
Yeah, but the films I did watch a few of, and when I was reviewing movies for my local radio station over the last couple of years, when the last animated one came out, which is Asterix and the Magic Potion, I went to watch that and thoroughly enjoyed it. So it's one of those ones where you kind of slipping back into a comfortable pair of shoes. It's like, oh, Asterix. Oh, let's see how that is now. And you're like, yeah, this is fun. It doesn't change much. plot-wise, admittedly, over the years, but it is good fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Colin, what about you? What's your history with Asterix?
Sort of almost the opposite of Carl, actually. I don't think I saw any of the films as a kid. I've got a feeling this might actually be the first of the films that I've seen, but I used to absolutely love the books. Asterix and Tintin books are always sort of a pair, as far as I'm concerned, because they're the same, exactly the same size and format. I don't know if they're the same publisher; they may well be, but they always seem to be in the same place in Waterstones when I was a kid in Birmingham, where I used to go in, and they got the Tintin display that was made up to look like the rocket, and they'd got all of the Tintin and Asterix ones on the same thing, and I quite often used to, whenever I went into Birmingham, get one of those. Either I think I had more Tintin than Asterix.
I think the Tintin cartoon was much bigger over here because there wasn't an Asterix like weekly cartoon show. It was always films, wasn't it?
No, but Hergé's Adventures of Tintin was on every Saturday morning, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It was.
And the name Captain Haddock is still hilarious even now.
It's a good name, Captain Haddock.
So's Vital Statistics.
My personal favourite is Geriatrics. But, we can go into the names a little bit.
But yeah, me and my best mate James, when we were in middle school, used to just read Asterix and Tintin books all the time. I think by the time this came out, though, 94 was the year we'd started high school, and it's a middle school thing for me. I think we'd left it behind by that point.
Right.
But yeah, I also had the Sega Master System game, which I used to play absolutely loads, which I've played relatively recently because I've got it on my Raspberry Pi, got an emulation on there, and the music is still utterly, utterly terrible. I suspect that Cacophonics actually programmed the music. I can remember playing that when I was a kid, when my bedroom was right next to the bathroom, and my dad was trying to have a bath, and he could just hear this music going, which is just really, really bad. And I was playing it for ages, and he got really pissed off with me. He was like, "Can you turn it down?"
That's just reminded me, actually. But every week, Xbox put out like their weekly sales, and I did see that they remastered Asterix and Obelix XXL, which is basically Streets of Rage with Asterix and Obelix.
Amazing. And it's interesting you say Streets of Rage, because I was a Nintendo kid. I always would call it a Final Fight clone.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about Streets of Rage all day.
Let's not.
Yeah.
Do another special on it.
Yeah, I do love Final Fight, though. I wish there was another Final Fight, or someone tries to do with Final Fight what they've done with Streets of Rage.
Yeah, remaster it.
For me, it was a big thing as a kid, the Asterix books. I never saw any of the films like you, Colin, but the books were a huge deal for me. Every Thursday after school, my mum would take me and my brother to the library, and I would take that week's Asterix book back and get a new Asterix book. And I remember it getting to the point where I suddenly was running out of Asterix books, and then I ran out of Asterix books. I read them all, but there were a few in the back, you know how you do, where you look at other books available at the back. There were a few that weren't there. So Asterix was the reason that I learned that reservations are a thing at libraries.
Right.
I was like, I want this book. And they didn't have it.
So they ordered it in for you?
Well, I had to save up 50p to get this reservation. I'd put like a little stamp on an envelope and gave it to the librarian and wrote my name on the front of it and stuff. So my first ever reservation and my kind of understanding of libraries kind of comes through a gentle obsession about Asterix.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
At a certain point in my life, I had read all of the Asterix books that were available at that point.
Yeah.
But we're talking like early 90s. So there have been some since that I haven't read. But yeah, at one point I had definitely completed Asterix. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I eventually worked in a library. and I was mortified that we didn't have the Asterix books. Oh. So that library now has the Asterix books, because I made damn well sure that when we had some budget for kids' books, that I kind of like convinced my manager to get the Asterix books, and they went out really well. Even 5 or 6 years ago, when this was, maybe a little bit longer, 6 or 8 years ago, they went out really, really well. Maybe to parents my age who were like, have this, child. It was something from my youth. But they did still go out well all those years later.
They've got them in Harborne Library when I've taken my daughter in to get some books out. I've not managed to persuade her to get any Asterix books out yet, because when we were in there last time, she was only getting books with fairies in.
That's disappointing.
Just looking here, there's 39 volumes altogether.
And that's collections.
I thought there was more than that, actually.
Yeah, they are collections of strips and that. But I mean, it's been going. How long has it been going since? 1961 was the first collection.
Yeah. So my dad was 6 when the first.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Well, unfortunately, do you both know about how the dip in quality happened in the Asterix books?
It was one of the creators passed away, wasn't it?
Yeah, Goscinny, the writer, died, and Uderzo, rather than bringing on another writer, he just wrote and drew the books from that point after Goscinny died. And I can see why they did it, but I also think it's kind of sad.
It's a bit Doug Naylor, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, that's exactly it. There's a parallel, isn't there? That there really was a dip in quality in Red Dwarf when they lost the team. And the same thing happened to Asterix. Fucking hell.
There we go. We've found yet another connection so people can stop complaining. Tony.
Let's hear that it got passed over to a new team in 2013.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, they've been the team who've carried on since.
Which will hopefully be people that grew up with.
The first time the story creation has been shared between 2 people since Goscinny died in 1977. So he held on by himself for a long time and then handed it over to somebody else.
Well, he retired, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then the only time he ever came out of retirement was to draw a piece in support of the Charlie Hebdo.
Charlie Hebdo.
Yeah, that's the only time since retirement that Uderzo has ever drawn Asterix.
That's cool that he came out of retirement for that.
Fully agree. In fact, I had it as my profile picture on Facebook for a while.
3 Asterix games are on sale this week.
That's Carl's weekend sorted.
Asterix and Obelix Slap Them All.
What?
Which is... Yep, it's a Final Fight clone, but with cel-shaded it looks really nice.
Buy it.
Asterix and Obelix XXL Rome Mastered.
Nice.
Which is more of a 3D platformer. And then Asterix and Obelix XXL 3, the Crystal Menhir, which again looks like a 3D platformer, like a Mario 64, but I'm quite tempted to just get Asterix and Obelix Slap Them All.
That is the one I'd buy.
Sorry, I got distracted. When I mentioned it, I was like, wonder how much they are this week. Distractorix.
Nice. So those puns, before we actually talk about the film, how the fuck did those puns work in French? Because obviously they were created just for the English versions. Is there any kind of explanation of how the names worked for French people anywhere?
Yeah, I can imagine the names in French were something a bit more punny. I think that the Ix ones, the Ix names is only for Asterix and Obelix, and then all the other characters actually have different names.
Dogmatix is Idefix, which is fixed idea.
Same vibes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Getafix in French is Panoramics.
I actually think I knew that.
Yeah, I think I knew that one.
I think Getafix is kind of considered gently controversial now, suggesting that they were all on drugs.
Yeah. In Esperanto, so the version that Rimmer would have been reading for his revision,
another link.
It was Miraclamix.
That sounds like a wizard-based metal band.
Miraclamix!
I would definitely go and see Miraclamix. I'd kind of hope they maybe be supported by Lordy or something, but I would definitely go and see Miraclamix.
Good evening, Western Supermare. We are...
Vital statistics in French is abaracauxix, which means with shortened arms.
What?
No idea. I can't speak French. I just let the funky music do the talking.
Fantastic.
My French is limited to Je suis le mouton de la guerre, and of course, où est le spuggy? Spuggy c'est la grove man.
Wow. Zoot alors.
This is it. Reference-wise, we are going off the reservation.
We have American and international listeners who have got no clue what bollocks you just spouted.
Well, they need to learn French then, don't they?
No, they need to... I was going to say they need to watch Biker Grove. Nobody needs to watch Biker Grove.
No, you need to watch the last episode where it went very strange, but we're getting even more off target. Can we talk about Asterix?
Yes, we will.
So anyway, Obelix turns up.
Asterix Conquers America was launched in Germany on the 29th of September 1994. We didn't get it in the UK until the 11th of August 1995, and it was released direct to VHS. And this is why I never watched it, because I was 16. I was too old for Asterix.
This is the odd thing, is it's the first one that was actually made with English in mind first.
Yes.
So it's quite odd that we got it second, but I can imagine the market is like way bigger in mainland Europe than it is over here.
They've got Park Asterix, haven't they? So that in France, it's big enough to have its own theme park.
I wonder how far it is to get to Park Asterix. Live episode from Park Asterix.
Park Asterix is actually very close to Paris, because you can have a holiday in Paris and go to Euro Disney and Park Asterix very easily, because I did when I was about 15.
I would like to do that. That's awesome.
At one point, Park Asterix had the European roller coaster record for number of loops with a it was 9 at the time. Smiler fucking kicks the absolute shit out of that now, but 9 loops at the time was batshit, and I remember going on it, and that was the ride that my brother cried because he was too short to get on it, and I cried because I got on it. Came off it and I was like, oh, that was too rough. I'd love to go on it again and see how much of a bone shaker it is. I bet it's fucking shit these days.
It's like the one in Great Yarmouth, which is the world's biggest wooden roller coaster.
I love wooden roller coasters. There's one called Megaphobia in Oakwood near Tenby, and it's brilliant.
So this one's the biggest wooden one in Europe. I've been on it a few times, and it's still standing today. And I actually found a video of it to show my mates, and the wood is green, like Swamp Thing green.
I don't want to go on that. I'll stick with a Wicker Man.
It's probably a bit more risky than some of the big ones. Do you want to go on this one that's been built in last year? I don't know. It doesn't seem that scary. Do you want to go on this one that's 100 years old and looks like it could fall apart at any minute? Yeah, I'll go there.
Moving on, we'll talk about the cast of Asterix Conquers America rather than roller coasters. There's some interesting ones. Obviously, we've got Craig Charles, who in 1994 had done basically series 1 to 6 of Red Dwarf at that point.
Yeah.
And other actors of note are Geoffrey Bayldon, who was Catweasel and was also a Sublime Doctor Who for Big Finish. Rabies from Maid Marian and Her Merry Men was Obelix.
Howard Lew Lewis, yeah.
Yeah, Rabies.
He's so good as Obelix.
Yes, he is. He really, really is.
I think he is a better Obelix than Craig Charles is an Asterix.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably fair.
Yeah.
Craig Charles is, while he does a decent enough performance in this, he just stands out like a sore thumb.
Well, it is a bit weird that a Gaul, therefore French person, has got a Scouse accent.
This is the thing that didn't confuse me, but takes me out of it, is in Asterix Does Britain, I believe it's Bill Oddie who's Asterix, but he at least, puts on a French affectation in his voice. Craig Charles doesn't do that.
I don't want to hear Craig Charles try and do a French voice, though. I don't think that would work.
But the thing is, after this, obviously, as I said, it went to live action. When it started coming back for animation, the British and English dubs were just as odd in terms of who they picked. Like, the next one had a primarily American cast, and Asterix was Paul Giamatti.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and Obelix was Brad Garrett from Everybody Loves Raymond and probably a million other animated films. And then the one after that, Asterix is Jack Whitehall.
Good.
I can see that, actually.
Yeah, but this is the one that really made sense to me. Obelix is Nick Frost.
Yes.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, I can
But
definitely
then the most recent animated one, they just went back to people who are primarily voice actors.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing you notice in a lot of these ones where they bring in the big names is they're almost reading it as opposed to really throwing themselves at it.
Yeah.
So that's what I think from the next animated ones onwards, where they kind of soft rebooted it, a lot of like the backup cast are people like John DiMaggio and a lot of the Simpsons voices, like background characters, and people who do video games all the time. And so people who are more used to it. Whereas in this one, a lot of the background actors all sound like northern 70s football managers.
Well, that is something about this film, is that it's actually very, very difficult to get the cast. There's a few main characters, but we don't know who played Fully Automatics. We don't know who played Unhygienics or some of the minor characters.
Chris Barry's in there somewhere. I'm sure he is.
And it's quite sad, I think.
Well, most of the IMDb it's unknown, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you've got a couple of people uncredited, like Rick Mail is uncredited.
As Cacophonix.
As Cacophonix.
I'd like to think I would have spotted that if I hadn't already looked it up, because in the very first scene with Cacophonix, it's so Rick Mail, but then he becomes less Rick Mail as it goes along.
Yeah.
But he really sounds like Rick Mail in the very first scene, the first time you hear Cacophonix speak.
Yes.
And the only other notable name, and I'd also like to say fuck you to him as well, is biphobic cunt Christopher Biggins.
Yeah. Fuck off.
I thought Biggins was the only one who kind of looked, his voice matched his character.
Oh, I agree. It was a great performance, but man's a cunt.
I still think Howard Lewis's voice matched the character. And as far as we're aware, he was not a cunt.
He's not with us anymore, is he?
No, he died ages ago now, about probably 10 or 15 years ago, I think.
Bloody hell.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. The strongest performances are Biggins and Rabies.
Yeah.
I can never remember his name because he's Rabies. Even though I wasn't that into Maid Marian.
I thought you were going to say you went into rabies.
I've never tried rabies. If you've got a portion, I'll have a go, though.
It's generally a bad idea.
No, I don't fancy rabies.
That's the T-shirt for you, Mark. If you've got a portion, I'll have a go.
I mean, no.
Woof.
But yeah, I think it's really, really sad that, I thought that the actor who played Unhygienics was good. There's quite a lot of people that worked as their characters, but we don't know who the fuck they were.
The guy who played Caesar, that was Jeffrey Belden. He was perfect. And he reminds me of, there's another actor who has a very similar voice. And I thought, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I thought that was him. And I'm sure that actor I'm thinking of has played Caesar because he looks like Caesar as well. But I thought that was perfect for Caesar. The thing in this one that I don't think gets covered enough, and it gets covered, maybe it is a thing that happens in the later ones, is the Roman guards.
Yes.
Like the actual soldiers. In the more recent films, they are very self-aware of how crap they are. And they are, I think it does get mentioned in this one, they are very, very tired of getting their asses handed to them constantly. Which
is very much something that you see in the books. And it does progress through. The books are actually quite chronological. They in release order, they do follow some gentle kind of an ongoing arc. Yeah. And the Roman soldiers get more and more exasperated and miserable at their own ineptitude as the books progress.
Yeah.
In the more recent films, they have this attitude of, look, we're going to lose. We're going to do it. We'll attack, but we're going to lose. Just like completely beaten.
The pirates were that earlier.
Yes.
The Romans become that as they go along, whereas the pirates always lose spectacularly immediately. At least the Romans have a go.
The pirates had a much bigger part in the book, because this is a loose adaptation of Asterix and the Great Crossing.
Yes.
And the pirates are much more in it than the Romans are.
Yeah, they do pretty much get reduced in the films to just a 30-second gag, don't they? They always get run over.
Possibly because of the massively racist caricature that one of them is.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to bring that up at another point, but if you want to talk about... Let's do the negatives now then, if you want to. And it is a massively negative caricature. And in 1995, I'm like, your lead actor is mixed race.
Yeah.
So, shit. Could you not have just cut that?
Or just redrawn him so he didn't have the massive fucking lips.
Yeah, the pink lips, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to explain what we're talking about, because I looked into this, because I thought they must have changed him. But they have somewhat. But it's quite odd, because if you look into the actual background of the character, it's actually quite fleshed out. But it's just the way he looks. The character's name's Babu. When they first started bringing him in, he spoke in patois. Yeah. And then after a while, they went, that's culturally... This is the thing that made me laugh. That's culturally insensitive. And they made him speak like posh Queen's English.
Right.
But they didn't bother to redraw him. And like you say, the way they've drawn him is almost Robinson's Jam Man. Well, Robinson's Jam Man levels of unacceptable. But the actual character they actually portray him in the books apparently as quite intelligent. He's got a cousin who's a centurion, and in one of the later animated films, you meet his other cousin, who's like, I can't remember what it is, but his name is Flat Earther. Falturtha. Flat Earther. And that name has nothing to do with what the character's about.
Good.
I reread the book this week before watching the film, and got to that bit, and I'd completely blanked it from my mind that this character was even in there, and got to that page and was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm sure he won't be in the film. Then I was watching it, and it was like, oh right, he looks absolutely identical in the film. They've not changed him even slightly.
In 1994.
I know.
As well.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, because I frigging love the pirates.
Yeah.
I really do. The thing that made me interested is they're actually a parody of something else.
Okay.
Is it a French parody we won't get, though?
It's a parody of another comic strip.
Right.
Of a French comic strip. I'm just looking it up here. Yes, the main pirates are based on a Belgian comic series called Barbe Rouge, which is about a group of pirates. But the thing is now that has completely overtaken the original comic is Asterix. It's just like people don't think of the original thing now because of what's happened.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing with Hello, Hello, isn't it? That there was a very serious TV show with similar plot lines about stolen paintings and hiding British airmen. And that's been completely superseded by Hello, Hello, the parody. I couldn't tell you the name of that programme.
I didn't even know there was one.
Yep.
No. I've just looked up to see if it's Baba, this character's name, if Baba is redrawn for the more recent ones. And the first thing that's immediately actually come up is a Asterix figurine. And he looks like he's got big red lips, like lipstick red lips. Oh. And he kind of looks like a spitting image puppet of Mike Tyson. Facially, it's really weird. But they haven't changed him at all. It's really odd.
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
Secret Army. I've just looked it up. That was what Hello, Hello parodied. And apparently Secret Army was very, very cool, very, very tense. And the plot lines that they use in Hello, Hello was all the same plot lines, but made for the lols.
I quite like that idea, that they completely got it from something else and just made it a spoof version.
Mm.
Yeah, they've never changed the design. That's ridiculous.
Particularly when there's new ones still being made.
Yeah,
this decade.
That's
bizarre.
I mean, but you can't do that with a black actor in the live action stuff. So if the character's in that, it will at least not be awful.
He's definitely in one of the live action films. Thing is with the live action films is they make them look very comic-y. Like if you've got red hair, you have got super bright red hair.
So his most recent appearance in the books was The Daughter of Vercingetorix, which came out in October 2019. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's in the films as well. Yeah. Fucking hell. Anyway, sorry. Completely
derailed.
Yeah.
But yes, he's not, unfortunately, the only racial stereotype either.
Yeah.
The Native Americans gibberish becoming the song Ginganguli, I didn't like either, because Ginganguli is Swedish.
Scouts. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
You couldn't have said two different words then when you both said it.
They both started with...
And one of you's a scoutmaster.
I know.
Well, yes, so that's why I know.
Yeah,
it originated with a Swedish song that was taken on by the Swedish Scouts, and then it came over to Britain maybe 20 years later, and has become very much associated with the Scouts, which is obviously where they got it from.
Yeah.
But it's Swedish. It is very, 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 very far from Native American.
Yeah.
I suppose it wouldn't have been that much of a great crossing if they went to Sweden, though, would it?
Well, to be fair, they did it in about, a day, was it? About 24 hours their trip took. When
very impressive.
It would have taken about 3 weeks at the time, at the absolute quickest.
The thing that got me about this was, I don't know if you two noticed, but the Native American, they actually put in a thing where they said they prefer to be called Native Americans.
Yes.
Yes.
He doesn't call them Indians either, does he? He calls them Indisons.
Yeah.
Because he just... And what's the other thing? Oh, all their dialogue is places.
Yeah, it's places that are named from Native American languages, but they're all obviously with the way that they're spread with different tribes across the USA and Canada. A lot of them have completely different languages anyway.
Yeah.
So they're all mashed up together. But yeah, they're saying like Manitoba, Minnesota, Miami is one of the sentences that someone says.
It just reminded me, Mark might know this, but I don't know if you like Colin. There was a wrestler called Curry Man.
I remember Curry Man, played by Christopher Daniels.
Christopher Daniels. He's Christopher Daniels in a mask. He's been doing the character in Japan for years, and he never really spoke. And then they decided to do it on American TV. And when he's like, "Oh, you're going to have to speak," and initially when he spoke, literally all he said was Japanese wrestlers' names.
Brilliant.
Well, he's like, "Oh, Shinjiro Watani," and everyone like, "What?" Just no one knew what was talking. And hearing them just go like Minnesota, Minnehaha, Manitoba, it was like, that's Curry Man. It was just,
That I didn't think was particularly grim. And I did like that Get a Fix acknowledged that they prefer to be called Native Americans. It was at least nudging towards having a fucking clue.
Yeah.
But then they ruined it with a joke about an Indian rope trick.
Yeah.
India as in India.
the wrong India, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why they were originally called Indians, because idiots thought they'd sailed all the way around the world to India.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big surge in people calling Columbus an idiot because he went to America but thought he was in India, and that's why he called them the Indians.
Good grief.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I still think it's quite odd because...
It's odd, but
we
oddly
do
historically accurate.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I stand corrected. Still wasn't fucking funny, though.
No.
No. They did one scalp joke, didn't they?
Mm.
But that was when somebody comes running in without their hair. That was pretty much it. And I thought, because when I first saw them, just my initial reaction was, holy shit. When I first saw them, it was like, oh, that's rough. But in an odd way, they kind of didn't lean on the stereotype that much.
No, and I think what's important to mention is that it is significantly less offensive than Peter Pan.
Yes, absolutely.
I've actually rewatched that relatively recently, and I was like, Holy fucking shitballs. No wonder Disney has to put a warning at the start of this.
Yes.
And that's all based around a song, isn't it? The particularly racist stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought We Are One People was actually quite nice. I liked We Are One People. That was a nice song. And
do you know who it is?
No.
It's Aswad.
Is it?
Is it Aswad? Fuck me.
I looked
Brilliant.
up the soundtrack because I was like, who is that? Because it sounds familiar. The soundtrack is so 1994.
I don't know. I thought it was quite anachronistic for 1994 because who was listening to Bonnie Tyler in 1994?
Probably me.
Bonnie Tyler.
Fair enough.
Who on the team at Asterix Conquers America went, we've got to reach out to the gays?
I've realised that this is a audio medium. I raised my eyebrow at that point, and that's why he laughed.
Although...
The gays that like Aswad.
Yeah. Well, there's Aswad, Dr. Alban, big in Europe, not so much in UK after It's My Life.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, It's My Life. It was them, wasn't it? Yeah, good.
Bonnie Tyler.
Right Said Fred.
Right Said Fred.
Fuck Right Said Fred.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But they had that Hasselhoff thing. I don't think it's still the case, but during the 90s, massive in mainland Europe.
Well, they were massive in the UK at the time.
Yeah. That was probably quite a bit of a get for them.
Yeah.
It was like, we got Right Said Fred. Dr. Alban was probably coming off of it. But they were probably just a Hadaway away from it being...
Nice.
Yeah. And Bonnie Tyler, I mean, she's an evergreen. I mean, they still picked her for Eurovision a few years ago. Yeah, she came did she come dead last? But but still.
I did hate that Right Said Fred was at the end. I can't...
Bellends.
I just can't separate the art from the artist when it comes to cunts who are anti-vaxxers.
Yeah.
So, you know.
It's a shame as well because they're actually... They did a lot of, fun stuff in the 90s.
Yeah.
Then they turned around to be massive pricks.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder what Dr. Alban's doing right now.
I was well into Aswad around about that sort of time. That was my first reggae phase.
Yeah.
You've had more than one reggae phase?
Yeah, man.
I haven't had any reggae phases.
I was really into early 90s sort of pop reggae type stuff. And then later on, completely lost that when I was, in my just listening to metal sort of phase in the mid to late 90s. And then got Grand Theft Auto 3, which had the K-Jar station. So the rest of the music on Grand Theft Auto 3 was all specially written by session musicians for the game, apart from the K-Jar station, which was an album called Scientist Defeats the Evil Curse of the Vampires, which was a dub album that is utterly fantastic, and that got me into dub, and from there I've been into it ever since.
As in Dub Be Good to Me in the morning.
That's not a dub record though.
Oh, no. I don't know.
It's got dub influences in there.
Oh my god!
What?
Just looking up to see what Dr. Alban's doing now. Still releasing stuff. Released a single last year called Change, I Have a Dream. But in 2008, he released a duet called We Love the 90s with Hadaway.
Fuck yeah.
We love the 90s because that's when we could afford to pay our rent.
Yeah. But, oh God. That's the thing is sometimes when you go, I wonder what happened to all these people. They're still going. They're just happily plugging away.
Yeah, when I was at uni in the early 2000s, I had a Norwegian flatmate, and her favourite music was all of the bands that had had one or two hits in the early 90s and had been forgotten about in the UK. She was into the stuff that they were still putting out 10 years later. So stuff like Wigfield and Ace of Base and Two Unlimited and stuff like that.
Ace of Base had a mini resurgence when they released Beautiful Life, because that's an absolute banger.
But this was later than that, I think.
Yeah. Didn't they get revealed to be massive Nazis?
One of the band had a previous history in a far-right skinhead band, yes.
Oh, God.
Don't turn around because you're going to see my heart breaking.
Which was done by Aswad first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was done better by Ace of Base.
Fucking wasn't.
Nah, it wasn't.
I heard it for the first time ever on Top of the Pops the other day. I hadn't, or if I'd have heard it at the time, I hadn't remembered it. And no, their version's fucking terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, as well as still, because my nephew is a drum and bass and dub DJ.
Yeah.
Isn't he like a relatively high-profile one?
He's doing all right for himself. Yeah, I'm really proud of him. But I got him tickets once to see Aswad, and he was so happy. And he knows one of them, which I'm pretty sure he knows one of them. And he's like, "Oh, I could have asked him for tickets." Like, shut up, accept your present, be grateful.
Fucking hell.
Brilliant.
We've tangented again.
This is the most tangenty episode I think I've been on.
It's all been vaguely relevant tangentiness.
Has it? That's why it's on the soundtrack. Like you said, the song that's on the soundtrack, it is a lovely, like, sing-songy with a positive message to it.
Did you say who did the score, though? Harold Faltermeyer.
Axel F.
Axel F. and Top Gun anthem, Harold Faltermeyer.
Axel F., was that the one with the frog?
Kill him. Kill him.
Later, it was covered by Crazy Frog, yes. Yeah. But it was originally a very influential piece of electronic music from the Beverly Hills Cop song.
Oh, yeah, the Crazy Frog song. I love Beverly Hills Cop, but Crazy Frog in it. Ding, ding.
I'm just going to mute Mark's microphone on the recording.
I mean, it was a lead credit going into the film as well, wasn't it? Before, like, Craig Charles or any of the names, it was scored by Harold Faltermeyer.
Yeah.
Ding, ding.
Right, okay.
I will make your cat love me and take her away.
Remove participant.
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, this shows that this one is them, like, pushing, like, let's get Asterix to break America.
Or maybe even conquer America.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. It's like, it's about the Americans. It's got a relatively-ish high-profile soundtrack. It's got Harold Faltermeyer on it.
Ding, ding.
And it's more of a Disney format sort of thing with the songs than a lot of the earlier Asterix films as well.
Yeah, you could definitely see the Aswad song, the We Are One People, fitting very, very well into a Disney film.
Yeah, like I said, in the early 90s, there was that weird phase of, like, world music in, like, 91 through to about 94. It's like, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I saw Yothu Yindi at Glastonbury in 1997. They were well good.
That's the most hippie thing I've ever heard you say.
What?
Sorry.
I'm pretty fucking hippie. I'm veggie, and I'm all kind of like don't test animals-y and all that shit.
You'd still got long hair at that point, hadn't you?
Yes, I don't have long hair now,
or any.
No, well, at least not on my head.
Yeah, but it was though, wasn't it? Early 90s, like, world music was a thing.
I'm going to listen to some Yothu Yindi when we're done.
Better than Crazy Frog. That's an improvement.
Yeah. And Enigma. Better than Enigma.
So we have gone horribly out of order, but at the very start, it starts with when we talked about the accents, how the Frenchman sounds Liverpudlian, but at the start of it, the Italians sound very Italian,
very stereotypically Italian.
Yeah, and it's like, get it right? Either just have them all American or all British, or just I don't know. I guess it's quite a tough decision to make on it, really, isn't it?
I can imagine as well that what they did is all the main casts who are predominantly English, or the cast that cost money, were probably recorded in England.
Yeah.
And then all the makeup parts were, I'm guessing, people who worked on it, which is why probably a lot of them are uncredited.
Yeah, maybe.
And they just went doing Italian and like, Mamma Mia.
Rick Mayall he was one of the illustrators, and that's why he's uncredited on it.
Maybe.
I wonder why he took his name off it.
It wasn't really Rick Mayall's greatest performance, to be honest with you.
No, it wasn't.
So weirdly, and maybe this is just me, but because the Roman Empire was basically Roman, I'm trying to explain this, and I'm doing it really badly, but it took me a few seconds. I was like, oh shit, yeah, Rome is in Italy. Because it wasn't the Italian Empire, was it? It was the Roman Empire. And I heard these Italian stereotypes, and I was like, oh yeah, they probably did sound like this. No, they didn't, because that's a horrible, horrible stereotype.
Even in this, I've never seen a depiction of Caesar where Caesar's like, Mamma mia, a tu brute. You know,
it wasn't Toast of London.
Yeah.
But no, it was, I don't know why it felt weird that the characters that were Italian had the Mario accents.
Even Mario doesn't have the Mario accent in the latest film.
Not really, no.
He does on the advert at the start.
Thing is, though, they're like, well, he's not doing the Mario voice. Like, can you imagine the backlash if he did the Mario voice?
I liked the Mario film. It was fun.
I loved
As did I. It was brilliant.
Moving on. So this really did bring me back to how the books felt as a kid, the vibe, the kind of slapstick and everything about it. I really thought that they got that right. It felt like the cartoon matched the comic.
Yes.
It felt like they got that right, which is actually quite an achievement, I thought.
It's a very direct adaptation.
Tonally, it is.
Yes.
They changed a lot in the story.
I think this is the thing is, 1994 was still in the process of like, comic book, we can't adapt all of it because it's going to be for kids and kids are going to want a lot less plot.
Yeah.
Which is what we got here. The plot's fairly threadbare.
Yeah.
Like we've said before. But because this is the thing, I got to the point where it's like, there's only 10 minutes left and there's still got to be like some kind of great battle. And it's over. Which is kind of in telling with the stories is that it's over very quickly.
Yeah.
But that's what happens with the Gauls is they take a sip of the magic potion, speed, and roids mixed with speeds with a drop of Vimto.
I mean, they got a fix, didn't they?
Exactly. Yes. Well, this is the thing. In the last animated film, it's Getafix tries to hand it over to somebody else because he's been brewing the potion for years and years, and he tries to find another druid to hand it over to, and it's actually quite touching in places. The people he goes to hand it over, it's really good, but it's an odd one because I didn't think Craig Charles talked that much in this film. He's
not prominent, but that might be because Obelix has always been my favourite. I've always preferred Obelix to Asterix anyway.
Yeah.
Yep, I did too, as a kid.
It feels like an Obelix story as well.
Yeah.
He falls in... Does he fall in love? I think he falls in love.
He kind of falls in love.
Yeah.
With Minnie Hoo-Ha.
Great name.
Yeah. I really thought you'd snicker at that, Mark, and I'm very proud of you that you didn't.
I snickered inside.
Yeah.
But I think you're right that Asterix is a character like, I'll always make this comparison, like Buffy, whereas you need this linchpin character that's actually a little bit dull for the interesting characters to be dotted around them.
Yes.
And there's so many examples of that.
Yeah.
And obviously Asterix was doing it before Buffy, but Buffy is the one that I feel is, at least for me, the most culturally recognizable instance of that and the most extreme instance of that. Buffy's fine. She's there. But anyone who tells me that they're not more interested in Spike or Willow hasn't watched Buffy.
Yeah.
It does carry on, as I say, into the more recent one. When I think about it, it is more a Getafix story and Asterix is there. And yeah, you're right. He's the nucleus from which it all circles around.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that, Buffy is considered the star, Asterix is considered the star, but it didn't feel like it was the main part in this film. And still, he was the highest billing because it's the main character by name, at least.
If you think about it, and this is the case with a lot of the Gauls, is he's a normal man until he has his potion. Obelix is the superhero, and he's more colourful as a character in terms of just how he looks with the big stripy trousers. Like, one year I will pull off Obelix for Halloween.
Amazing.
Who will be dressed as Obelix when you pull him off?
Lol.
Mini hoo-ha. Huge trousers up to the nipples and a wig. Yeah,
that would be a strong look for you, Carl.
Damn right.
It doesn't have to be Halloween. Do it every day.
No.
Well, how would you make your menhir? Would you like polystyrene menhir? So for me, fancy dress is always about the props. A polystyrene menhir is basically winning at props.
I'd manage it. I think I'd get like a Wendy's wig. This is the thing, is the helmet can be tiny because on Obelix it's tiny.
Yeah, he has got a tiny helmet.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, get a toy dog, dress somebody else up like a dog.
Colin made a knob gag and we both giggled like children.
I mean, Colin's got more of the beard for... Oh, no, Obelix hasn't got a beard.
He hasn't got a beard. I did notice that the other day. Very few of them have beards. They've nearly all got a moustache.
And some good ones as well.
Oh, yes.
Particularly long moustaches. Getafix is one of the only ones that has got a beard.
And that's what makes him a druid, yeah.
I mean, I could pull off a Getafix outfit, Colin. We should, right? Do you want to be Asterix because you're little? So we've got our fucking goals here.
That's got to be Matt Latham.
No, Matt Latham can be vital statistics.
Who would Kurt be?
Geriatrics.
Dress Pasha up as Dogmatics and she'll hate every second.
Pash.
I want to be vital statistics.
But who would we have as Asterix? You're the littlest.
Carried around on a shield everywhere.
Elodie.
Yeah.
Elodie could be Asterix.
Yeah, see.
That'd be hilarious. Just tiny Gauls surrounded by massive Gauls.
Oh
dear.
Yeah, so with what Carl was saying about how they'd sort of simplified it, going, it's got to be a kids' film and kids have got to be into it. She wasn't. She got bored after about half an hour.
Really?
Did she?
Yeah.
That's a shame.
It didn't seem to hold up well enough to hold the interest of today's nearly 7-year-olds.
I'd be interested to show her the most recent one.
Yes, I probably will do that.
That's written definitely more to catch today's kids' attention.
Yeah.
And it's a lot funnier as well. Yeah. I think so anyway.
Yeah. The only other thing I've got in my notes is another reference to a low. That's the British slaves in the galley.
Yes.
Sounded like the airmen from a low.
They probably were.
It was the Cambridge and Oxford boat race, wasn't it, that they were parodying?
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
It was.
And he's trying to wind them up against each other, but they're far too polite for that.
Yeah.
In the Asterix Conquered Britain, they all talk like that.
Yeah.
And it's very, they all talk like the airmen from Hello. The thing I liked, and I mentioned this before at the start, is I think it's mostly the Gauls. Everybody sounds like Brian Clough or various late 70s, early 80s Northern football managers.
Yeah, Vital Statistics' voice. I'm sure I recognise it, but he's uncredited.
Yeah. There's somebody, I kind of had it on in the background, and I looked up and was like, that is Chris Barry. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's done like an uncredited appearance on it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he's Chris Barry. He was voiceover for most of the 90s. It's like, I can't imagine Rob Brydon would turn up in one.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the later ones, definitely.
Yeah.
So the only other bits I've got in my notes that we haven't mentioned yet, there is an excellent bit of dog cannibalism while they're sitting around eating with the Native Americans, and one of the Native Americans tells Obelix that it's dog that they're eating.
Yeah.
And Dogmatics just looks up and then just continues eating. Well up for a bit of dog cannibalism, or any cannibalism is always good.
Good.
There's the bit where the medicine man drugs them.
Oh God, yeah, that's a weird bit.
Getafix says, "Oh no, he slipped as a Mickey."
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
yeah, that's quite adult, isn't it?
A, it's quite adult, but B, for a film that came out in 1994, that's a really weird phrase to use, because that's a phrase that was from... I'd not heard it before. I knew what it meant. You can infer from what he's saying. So I looked it up, and it's a phrase that was mainly used in the sort of 1915-ish through to the 1950s. There was a bartender in Chicago called Mickey Finn, who was notorious for drugging people when they came into his bar. And he was so well known for it that this became a phrase used throughout the Western world. I think he carried on working in a bar for some fucking reason.
That's quite grim.
Yeah.
Also, and this just could be me, but when they first meet the Native Americans, well, the first people they meet, the first living things they meet are turkeys.
Yeah.
Gobble gobbles.
Gobbles. But at one point, Obelix, when he's trying to communicate with Minnie Hoo-Ha, leans in and goes, gobble gobble?
I don't think that was meant to be rude.
I can imagine if this is a bunch of comedians messing about on a film, seeing what they can get in. Because, I mean, it's like the Lion King animators putting sex in the clouds.
No, they didn't. It's SFX. It was the special effects department that put it in there. It looks like it says sex, but it says SFX.
Isn't there like a poster of the Little Mermaid where it's covered in cocks?
It was the original VHS cover. There's sort of towers that look like massive knobs.
Yeah.
Disney animators were notorious for doing stuff like that. There's a bit in The Rescuers Down Under where there is, they're going past a load of houses and there's various things in the windows, and just for a few frames in the original theatrical version and original VHS version, there is a photograph of a topless woman taken from a pornographic magazine that one of the animators had just pasted in, that they obviously then removed when people saw it on video because they could pause it.
Fucking hell.
I went to see The Rescuers Down Under in the cinema as well. There's a couple of things when they meet the Native Americans. One being, where he has to do the fight.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that does happen in a lot of Asterix films, is whenever Obelix has to fight, it's over ridiculously quickly. He takes him out in one shot, doesn't he?
Well, he fell into the cauldron of potion when he was a baby, so...
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Apparently that is one of the short stories that's not in any of the collections, is how Obelix fell into the potion.
I've read that.
Yeah.
That was at Warstone's Library in Wolverhampton. I had that.
Yeah.
There were two books that were Obelix rather than Asterix. There was How Obelix Fell into the Potion and Obelix and Company, where he set up his own company at building menhirs.
Yeah. I remember that one too.
I mean, this is probably testament to how big it is in Europe. I'm surprised Disney haven't gone for it.
Yeah.
It's a big name to the fact that in the most recent live action, the one that's coming out soon, the Julius Caesar is Vincent Cassel.
Right.
Okay.
Also, if you're a film buff out there, there's a new adaptation of the Three Musketeers coming out, and it looks great.
More Musketeers already? Fucking hell.
But
it's French production.
I saw the trailer for that the other day, and they've made more human. That's just changing it from the source material too much. They're dogs.
Have you not seen the Charlie Sheen, Keith Sutherland classic?
No, because they changed them to humans in that as well. Yeah. It should be D'Artagnan and the Three Muskehounds.
They did do a new one of those.
No, they didn't remake D'Artagnan.
I believe they did. I didn't watch
I don't know if it's a remake or they just did a... Apparently it's actually all right.
I've got to say, I actually fucking hated the original cartoon. It was not a cartoon that I liked.
Get in the sea.
But, there's it's a French adaptation of the Three Musketeers, and they've done it as like a proper historical epic. It looks massive and it looks great.
Are they bringing back Peter Capaldi as Richelieu?
No, I didn't watch that series. I really should have done.
I stopped after Peter Capaldi was no longer Richelieu.
Yeah.
Richelieu is a very satisfying word. Richelieu.
That's why you keep saying it.
Richelieu.
Yeah. I just love the fact that in the 1993 one, they're all from California, pretty much. Also, that one, because it's a Disney one, there's only one version of it out on Blu-ray. It's like a 25th anniversary version, and it's about 50 quid.
Boo.
It's Yeah, there's no like regular value version of it. Sorry, went off there for a second about the Musketeers. But yeah, it looks like in France, or at least, or Belgium, they are rebooting the franchise stylistically and taking it a bit more seriously, because I think over there it is their major animated export.
Yeah.
This is their Mickey Mouse.
Anything else on Asterix Conquers America?
I thought there was a very cute moment where the Gauls are about to get captured, and there was like, "Oh, we haven't got any potion," and there's a little kid there going, "Don't worry, I'll take them on."
It's very Scrappy Doo, isn't it?
Yeah, they're like, "Oh
no, because it wasn't shit."
Yeah,
right.
Shit.
I always quite liked Scrappy. I know I'm in a minority.
Yes, yes, wow. You are.
Deserved minority there.
Right, that was lots of fun, even if we kind of mostly talked about random shit. Yay, specials. Colin, where can people find you on the internet?
So I've got 2 other podcasts, We Dig Music and Through With This Month's Issue, where We Dig Music, me and my co-hosts, Tracy and Ian, choose a different year each month, and then choose our 10 favourite songs each, and then fight over them. Free With This Month's Issue is me, Ian, and a different guest each month, listening to old free CDs from Kerrang, Metal Hammer, Melody Maker, Enemy, that kind of thing. You can find both of them by searching for them. You're listening to podcasts now, you know how to do it. They're also on the We Made This network. We Made This network, like we are currently on. And you can find them on wheeligpodcast.com. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter at MogwaiFearSatan.
Carl, where can people find you on the internet?
There's not that many places at the moment. I am currently at allmylinks.com/Mr. Carl. I'm actually, as we said, because I realised I am 15 years into the podcast game, working on a kind of archive of what I've done. Because I've done quite a few podcasts over the years, but I realised that none of them are actually online.
The Museum of Carl.
Yeah, so using like the archive.org website, I am going to put up some like best ofs, but I need to sit down and edit them. And finally, I've had an idea for something which I'm keeping under my hat for now. But as soon as I come out with it, I will let everybody know.
Interesting. If you're looking for me, I am at Mark Adams HC on Twitter and Instagram. I don't really bother with Instagram because it's like Twitter on hard mode, as we know. And I'm only doing one other podcast at the moment, and I've only been doing one other podcast for about a year now. And that's Chucky Vision, which is the podcast on the We Made This Podcast network about Chucky and Child's Play and Chucky adjacent shit. You know how like I do dumbass specials with a very, very tenuous link to Red Dwarf on this?
Really?
Well, I do that with tenuous links to Chucky. And we looked at Heartstopper recently, which is really fucking tenuous. But I don't care, because Heartstopper was fucking lovely. Listen to Chucky Vision. It's good.
Colin and I want to congratulate you, Mark, on curbing your podcast addiction down to just 2 podcasts.
It's been literally 18 months since I've had another podcast, Carl. Colin's got more podcasts than me.
That is true.
But he's had them for a very long time, whereas you were out of control in about 2021.
Probably fair.
Yeah. But, we're good, and we're going to send you Chip over to you soon.
Chips? Love chips.
Chip with a little podcast symbol in the middle saying 18 months.
But I don't get a plate of chips.
Maybe
that as well.
So thank you for listening to another episode, another special of Shipwrecked and Comatose. It has been a bit of a clusterfuck. We don't care. Hope you don't either. And until next time...
What were we actually talking about in this one?
Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast, was created and produced by Mark Adams and Kurt North. You can find us on Twitter at Red Dwarf Pod, and we are part of the We Made This Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Colin.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Tracy.
And we dig music.
Just not always the same music.
Each episode, we pick our 10 favourite songs from a specific year, rate them, and then battle it out over a top 30 countdown.
Colin's pretty enthusiastic about most stuff, Ian less so.
And Tracy definitely owns a thesaurus. And one of us will regularly be told to fuck off.
So join us each month to hear what we dig and what we don't. Listen to We Dig Music wherever you get your podcasts. Find us on wedigpodcast.com, or we're on the We Made This Podcast Network, which you can find at wemadethisnetwork.com.